To spending for a moment as well, because what we found out in the numbers that came in on the economy is that, whatever you think about the shutdowns that are in place, they're certainly having an effect on how much people spend. Household spending is down. The month of November went down by 0.4%. We also, people making less, personal income figures fell as well. John Bussy and Aaron Gibbs join us now. John at the Wall Street Journal, where he's associate editor. Of course, Aaron's at Gibbs Wealth Management. So welcome to both of you. And so we'll get into this, and I want to talk about stimulus and the president maybe blowing up that deal a little bit in a moment. First, on the economy, though. Aaron, to you first on what these numbers tell you. I mean, we knew if there was going to be some pullback, some more restrictions in place, that would have a behavioral change for people, especially if they weren't able to go out, right?
Certainly. I think it's concerning because we're also seeing, home sales down as well. So a lot of areas that were doing well up until November or October rather, have really been pulled back. And so obviously, this was somewhat expected. We know that with fear as well, people start spending less, do less, but it's also partially because of increased business restrictions and increased lockdowns. And so this is definitely a concern that this is going to be another hit to the U.S. economy and one more wave that we're going to have to overcome next year.
So now we have, John, the politics of all of this is that we had the stimulus bill done that was supposed to kind of deal with this and be the bridge that gets us from now until when the vaccine is completely rolled out, whenever that is, 4 to 6 months down the line, and everybody, the economy theoretically takes off from there. But then here comes President Trump last night, and, whatever the intent is, I'm not still sure if anybody knows, and says, you know what, we need $2,000, not $600, and now we're wondering whether or not we'll even get the $600. So what do you think is going on here, and what will happen at the end of whatever is going on here?
It's very unclear, Connell. It looks a bit like there's some internal politics within the Republican Party. The president's very unhappy with some Republicans coming out and welcoming Joe Biden and congratulating him on becoming president, while the president still is trying and failing to convince the public that he won the election. So I think there's some push and pull there. The Republicans had approved the $600 payment along with Democrats. This bill was moving through. The president just needed to sign it. Now it's kind of up in the air. And I think that it's kind of the president flexing his muscle, but unclear why and how this is going to resolve itself. At the end of the day, the failure of Congress to pass this legislation earlier and provide this support for people is reflected in the numbers that you're beginning to see, a turn down in spending, more pressure on the economy. What had lifted the economy in the summer were the stimulus checks in part. Now it's very much tied to the coronavirus, and whatever any travel expert wishes to say about people should get out there and travel, that's just not what they should be doing. The advice from every credible health official is we're headed into a worse period. The economy's suffering from it. And it's very important that people stay close to home right now. Proximity benefits the virus. And so what you want to do is reduce density, reduce proximity, stay at home.
No, you're right. Maybe I should have been more forceful with that. But that last guest, that's no different, John, than having somebody on talking about the stock market. It's in their interest for the stock market to go up, and they're going to tell you all these reasons why it could go up. And it's just someone talking their book, which we kind of understand. And it is what it is. But you're right. Every health expert, Dr. Fauci on down, has said that. And that leaves us in this situation where the stimulus, Aaron, becomes even more important. And there are, in terms of outcomes here, you either have it where, as it is, as we thought it was, $600 and the bill goes forward and it becomes law. The president gets his way, which would be $2,000. I'm not sure how that would happen, but it could. They could figure something out. The Democrats certainly say they like that. So that also would be something that probably the market likes. So the market, the Dow's up 260 right now. The third, though, is that it either gets delayed or just doesn't happen right away, and that obviously would be a negative. So it looks like investors are betting on one of the first two things still being in place after last night. What do you think?
I think, well, one, we know it could just be increased to $2,000. That $2,000 to everybody is really what helps consumer spending. And obviously, that's a big part of the stock market and those public stocks. So Wall Street would like that if that would happen. And there's indications that the Democrats would be okay. It's really about going over that $1 trillion level. Again, if he does veto it, there are right now enough votes that actually they could override the veto, and then it would get passed. But again, that's another 2-week delay. However, Wall Street, since we're already looking about 6 months ahead, we're certainly willing to look past that 2-week delay and expect that there is going to be a positive outcome. Certainly, from personal, on a personal level, it hurts those people having that delay. But on a more of a stock market investing basis, this is something that Wall Street really believes is going to happen.
All right, give us the final thought on this, John, which would be that when the new administration comes in, you're going to see a push for even more of this, for more spending. I guess a lot of it depends on what happens here the new year, first couple of days of the new year in Georgia, but in terms of Senate control. But you will see a push for more stimulus, which stocks theoretically would like as well, right?
Yeah, stocks would like that. Wall Street would like that. A lot of Republicans would not, because they're concerned about what's happening to the budget deficit and the total U.S. debt. The consumer, meanwhile, very interestingly, Connell, has been saving money. Not surprisingly, it's been hunkering down. Some of this is the consumer just saving money, not just not having money to spend, but putting it away. And so economists are looking at this and they're looking out toward the vaccine slow but sure rollout. And if all goes according to plan and you have the beginning of a more consistent, resilient opening in the first half of the year, there's some expectations that the economy could grow by 5% in 2021, which would be a notable rebound and a organic rebound, not one just driven by stimulus checks being sent by the government.
Right. A big second half of the year especially seems to be the bet right now, and we'll see. Well, have a great holiday, both of you. Good to see you, Aaron and John, as we continue here on Cavuto.